Jesus, Roy, I mean, you do nothing but complain about being on this podcast. You can't stand it here, and yet you don't have the guts to walk out. What the hell do you think you were doing, for Christ's sakes? Are you crazy or something? Well, you're not. You're not. You're no crazier than the average asshole out there walking on the streets, and that's... No, that's a lie. You're one crazy mofo. Yep. Hey guys, and welcome to Movie Mumbles, where the Mumbles have movies and the movies have Mumbles. Yep.
That's your intro. I mean, you're quoting a part of the movie, but it makes no sense.
I know I am. Yeah, I know it doesn't.
And you're gonna
make any sense.
And you're complaining about me complaining about stuff?
Yeah, I'll complain. Fine. Let's change that. Jesus, Womble, I mean, you complain about...
Okay, stop. Let's go on with the episode. Hello, welcome to Movie Mumbles. We're in the final movie of 1975 theme, where we took a year from a randomly generated number generator thing, and the year we picked was 1975, and we've done 3 great 1975 movies, and we're closing it off with One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Spoilers will be ahead for this video, so if you've not seen the movie, you should check it out.
There will be spoilers ahead.
Yeah, I said that.
Sorry, I'm just looking at something on the Internet Movie Database about Will and Grace. I'm very confused, because I thought that had finished years ago. I don't know. I've no idea. I'm so confused right now.
It came back, like 2016 and came back, I think.
Wait, what?
It came back recently. Yeah, like 2017, 2016.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Why?
Why are we talking about this now?
I don't know. I don't care. I'm just...
You don't like Will and Grace?
No.
Okay,
I've got things popping up. Hold on.
Sorry. But while that happens, so One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is a... Seriously, why were we talking about Will and Grace for a second?
I have no idea. One flew over the... Yeah, you go for it. It was my pick, but you go for it.
So One Flew Over Cuckoo's Nest stars Jack Nicholson as Mcmurphy. He's essentially a delinquent guy who's been in jail a bunch of times, but now he's kind of pretending to be mentally ill in order to get into what he thinks is a cushy lifestyle in this mental facility. But once he realizes, like, the patients there, and, like, especially Nurse Ratchet, who we're gonna probably talk about in this podcast, like, it's not actually actually a fun place as he thought it was, and he wants to get out, essentially. And it's like 2.5 hours of, like, him, fighting against Nurse Ratchet and trying to escape, essentially.
Yeah, so basically... Did we do the spoiler?
Yeah, we did
do the spoiler.
Yeah.
Okay, the whole film revolves around Mcmurphy, who is going through a character transformation throughout this film. So when he gets to the mental hospital, nobody believes that he's insane. He's not crazy. He's obviously putting it on.
Yeah.
He's the sanest out of all of them. I actually thought that this film was going to take a different route. I thought it was going to go down the... Oh, he actually ends up being crazy, which he kind of does actually at the end. Like,
I wouldn't say crazy, but like,
snaps,
it's not. Yeah. I don't think that was what they were going with. Like, he doesn't become crazy from.
But anyway, he goes through this transformation, and yes, there is there is the main matron nurse, Miss Ratchet, Ratched or whatever. How is it fucking pronounce her name? Who literally keeps pretty much imprisons all the inmates.
Yeah, exactly.
There. By making them think that there's something wrong with them, which leads back to my beginning speech of
Mcmurphy.
God damn it, brain isn't working. This is why I need to drink while we're doing these things.
Right, you need to drink to think better.
Yeah, I do actually. It's Mcmurphy. Like it was his realization that a lot of the patients at this mental institute, this hospital, are there by choice. They're volunteers. They walked in of their own accord. They technically can leave whenever they can, even though they really cannot. They very much cannot leave. There's no way that they're ever going to really get to leave unless there's some sort of uproar. They're never going to get fixed.
Now, to be fair, let's talk about... So, technically, these guys do... Like, many of these people do have mental issues that should be resolved. The problem is... half. Nurse Ratchet and everyone else in the hospital are not doing that. They're not resolving their issues. In fact, they're kind of just like... there's a scene where they basically just force them to, like, say... Oh, this is all the terrible stuff that happened to a particular patient, and does anyone want to talk about it? And, like, even one of the patients is like, how is this, like, helping people? You're just telling them what their problems are, and there's no therapy involved, essentially.
It's 1963, and mental illness was still being looked as a taboo. It looked very much down upon the society. If you're a retard, then you need to be locked away, and you batshit crazy, that sort of thing. It's set in a time where culture, like modern day society, hadn't accepted mental disabilities as an actual disability, like something that generally needs to be
and to
helped.
this day, like, I'm not gonna go into
In America, everything you're going to say from now on is in America to this day. I agree.
Okay, but let me just say, it's better now, but like there's still definitely issues with mental illness that I think this film, I think it's still relevant today. Like there's.
It's still very much still relevant. There's a lot of themes going through this that this will forever be one of those pieces of writing, whatever, because it was a book first.
Yeah, it was a book.
It's going to be one of those pieces of literature, these pieces of art forms that will stand true no matter where we go in society. There's always going to be some sort of personal, social, mental problems that are going to be shabooed to one side.
That's true. Okay, and I want to talk quickly about the book. I'm not going to talk about the differences too much, but there is a lot of differences between the book and the movie.
Have you read the book?
I have not, but I've read a synopsis. Okay, so because I don't want to talk too much about it, but the main difference is that it's through the point of view of Chief, the Indian character, and Chief has in the book Chief has schizophrenia. So there's a lot of just weird moments. For example, the orderlies in the book are like robots to him because he has this mental issue, and there's much more of an unreliable narrator type thing with the narrative, whereas here it's much more down to earth, and that's the main thing I want to get across.
Yeah, because in this you follow Jack Nicholson's character rather than the Chief's character.
Although the Chief kind of is the main character by the end, I think.
Well, he is, but I mean, he kind of isn't. Basically, the book is this is the way I think the book is supposed to be wrote. It is one of Jesus's apostles who has witnessed Jesus come into their lives and just become this other person that has subverted all the people around him and made them think about themselves and made them think about reality. And by the end, obviously through the death of their Messiah, they become like they put him on this holy pedestal, which is hence why the Chief murders him. Now, I don't think that quite gets across as much in the film because it's from the point of view of
Jack Nicholson's Mcmurphy.
Whatever
Mcmurphy.
his face. McDonald's, that's what I'm going to call it now. Yeah, so it's from the point of view of McDonald's.
No, seriously, come on, call him Mcmurphy. You're gonna.
I can't. Murphy. See, I'm thinking Murphy, but then putting the muck in front of it doesn't.
Just continue.
It doesn't work in my brain for some reason. I've got the fucking name right in front of me, and I still can't freaking read it.
Maybe you belong in a mental institution.
It's from Murphy's point of view, and that's where the film holds true. At the beginning, he doesn't care. Like, he's very self-centered. He only cares about getting out. Like, he wants to watch the baseball, so, he decides to try and rattle everyone up and, like, get everyone going. But then about midway through, he escapes with a lot of the patients.
Yeah, they go on a boat ride with a prostitute.
They go on a boat ride. And I think to start off with, he just wants to take the mick out of them. He just literally wants to use them for his own personal
Especially in the beginning, he's more just kind of making fun of the mental patients.
Actually, very much at the beginning, he's set up as the bad guy. He's a child rapist. He's he's vicious assault.
Okay. Let me just I don't think he's set up as the villain, and to bring the point, he was. Let me explain.
Who can side with someone with these crimes? Like, straight off the bat, that is how you are. You don't even see him, and that is how you say, okay, this guy, he did this and this and this and this and this. And we need to be careful, and we think he's faking.
No, let me just make the one point. Yes, I do think like his jerk ass. He is definitely a jerk in the beginning to the mental patients. The statutory rape thing was something that's the dated That's one major dated aspect of the movie, because back then and even during the time this film was made, that was not seen as a serious crime. Not today. It's not treated that as such today. But back in the time of the movie, and especially like in 1960s, that was not seen as a serious crime. I just want to point that out. I don't agree with that assessment.
I think you're wrong on that. I think it very much was a serious crime.
Why did they play it for laughs? Why did they play the scene for laughs then?
Attention penitentiary.
Yeah, he wasn't
like that. That was his big crime. Like they laid that on thick.
Yeah, but
it made you feel awkward and uncomfortable.
Then why was the warden laughing with him when he made a joke about it?
Hey, look
at this. Then why he made it? Why?
Exactly. He was making.
Yeah,
the
but
joke.
He was laughing.
We don't get that. We don't feel that funny. The warden doesn't sense it funny. He's just smiling because he feels like he needs to, kind of thing. No. If you're disagreeing, you're missing one of the major points that's trying to set up. They're trying to set him up as a huge villain
I disagree.
Right at the beginning. And then as you go through the film, you're supposed to fall in love with this character. And they do that really well. And it's sickening to think about. And you say back then, this is the 1970s. Sure, it's set in the 1960s, but it was filmed in the mid 1970s.
I don't think even back then.
That's when
I don't think it was even back then. It was treated as seriously as it is now.
From all the way through that, people have always been protective of their children. Now, one, I don't know what state they're in. They could be on some southern state where weird laws or whatever. And yes, it is America. But I guarantee that, like, you meet an every Joe sort of person and you talk about these in the 1960s, they would not like you. No way. It's no way acceptable. It was never acceptable then and it's not acceptable now. And that is why I generally actually really like this film, because they set up this character to be evil. Like, that's how he's set up. He walks in, he kisses the guard when he gets escaped, and is like, I'm free, and he's obviously faking it, and you know that he's taking them for a ride. You are not meant to like this character. And then kind of by the end, you're on his side. You're on his side all the way through it, because there's someone even worse. And that is actually the most injustice in it, is the fact that the person who is worse is the one who has all the power, and that's Miss Ratched.
Last podcast, you said this movie was a comedy, and there are comedic elements, but I don't think...
I hadn't seen it before.
It's not a
I hadn't actually seen it before. I was reading it off the Wikipedia.
Yeah, because the movie ends with the main character getting a lobotomy, and it's not a funny lobotomy either.
It's called a comedic.
Yeah, there are some funny bits, but it's especially by the end, it's not a comedy. The main character gets a lobotomy, then Chief has to mercy kill him essentially, because he's a vegetable at that point.
Well, the reason why the Chief killed him was so that he could remain the idol to everyone else, so the others didn't see their idol get brought down.
It's still depressing, though. Still depressing.
No, well, yeah, but then he ridiculously lifts a massive...
What do you mean ridiculous? That was an awesome moment.
Sink and throws it out the window, which that was funny, because they're like, yes, okay. That's funny.
No, that wasn't supposed to be funny. That wasn't supposed to be funny. That was supposed to be like his awesome moment of finally escaping the establishment, and that's how the scene plays. You might find it funny, but that was not how.
I found it funny in not in a ha I'm laughing humorous way. There's multiple levels of comedy. This is a very subtle.
You think everything is a subtle humorous comedy?
Giving a fuck you to the. It's the fuck you to the establishment.
I agree with that.
And at any moment where you can seriously stand back and say, "Oh my goodness, yeah, okay, no, everything that we've known from now is wrong." That's fun. That's
but
funny.
Don't make it.
As far as I'm concerned,
if you find it funny, that's your thing.
You find these dark
subtle
moments through humor, and that's how you get the coping mechanisms.
Maybe. I'm not. Because that moment was supposed to be like his triumphant escaping the establishment.
Yeah,
it's not. I don't think it's meant to be funny.
Just because it's humorous doesn't mean that you lose that in it at all. In fact, if anything, because it's humorous, you get more of that. You get more of that character, because really until then you don't know really who this character is. He very slowly evolves, the Chief.
But anyway, let's talk a bit about the Chief actually, because he's an interesting character, because he's also kind of faking it as well. He spends most of the first half of the movie being a mute, dumb character who doesn't speak, and Jack Nicholson's character Mcmurphy kind of plays around with this character because he he's mute, and I think he's also deaf also. But then when they're both sitting down and Mcmurphy gives him a stick of gum, then the chief goes, thank you, in a very soft, like, whisper tone. And then they find out the truth.
An important scene happened before that, and that was the basketball match.
With the orderlies.
Yeah, with the orderlies. There was a very important moment with the chief where he was just standing next to, like, Jack Nicholson's character just says, right, stand there, stand there, stand there. And then he passes the ball to the chief, and then the chief just puts the ball in the net. And then from then on, that character starts to move, and that's, you see him.
No, I agree. I think that's
running around,
very subtle.
You see him chasing. That's the important
moment.
think
there's always been, like, subtle foreshadowing to, like, oh, he understands it. Like, looking back at the hand-raising scene, also, you can also, like, argue that's...
Yeah, you can also see it. Like, right from the beginning, right from the get-go, you can tell that the chief understands. The first time you see him, he is getting pills from Nurse Ratchet. He's the only one out of all of them that doesn't willingly go to the booth.
He's playing a character.
He has to be dragged by an orderly. I know he's playing the character, but you can't. That's the mirror image there of saying something's not right in this hospital. Something isn't right because that character here. And now when you look at it and you detangle it, it's because this character is kind of faking it.
Yeah, I agree.
So he was aware at that moment. His whole arc has actual beautiful symmetry. If you watch it again, I think this has replayability as well, because you can watch it again, and I bet that there are moments that you didn't recognize the first time.
Right, I agree. Okay, let's talk about Jack Nicholson here, because he is definitely the standout performance. Like, this movie swept the Oscars, but in Jack Nicholson's case, I definitely think he deserves the Oscar for this performance, because I do agree, he does change characters. He does, like, go through a huge arc. He starts off as kind of this asshole character, and he's more making fun of the orderlies, or of the mental patients, than, like, actually helping them. But by the, like, midway point, essentially, he grows, to care about the mental patients.
He does,
and actually genuinely wants their self.
They become his friends. Yeah. They become his friends in solitude, and it very much became for him like someone gets sent to prison. This is how I always imagine it. You don't want to be there at the first, and then eventually you've got to kind of get used to it, find people, and survive with other people, right? Now, I imagine that his character didn't survive very well with other people. That's why he's had to play the insanity card to get out of the prison, right? He's finally found friends in, like, madmen, basically, but they're not. And that's the best... for me, that's the best thing, is the fact that, actually, no, they're just kind of ordinary people, just with a few problems. Yeah. And it's just like, yeah, sure, talking about it isn't going to help. Distracting them and letting them live normal lives. Yeah, exactly.
Like, the prison... Like, I think that's the main critique of this movie. The prison-like environments of mental institutions don't reform... Well, not reform, but, like, help those who have these issues, It's kind of having a community. And you actually do see some positive development in the characters. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yeah, okay. I can. Okay, I was for example, being respectful and listening.
Yeah, okay, good. Sorry. Just not used to that. But anyway, for example, Billy Batson is a character. He has a stutter. That's his main thing that we know about him. Mm-hmm. And pretty much after the scene where he has sex with the prostitute, he briefly, when talking to Nurse Ratchet, loses that stutter.
He doesn't have the stutter at all. He's very focused, and he's like, I'm finally free,
It's the moment. Yeah, it's a very, strong moment for his character. The moment...
She immediately snaps him back down, and it's
he uses his mother to, like, essentially bring him back to that stutter. Yeah. He immediately stutters afterwards, and it's kind of a sad scene, especially afterwards, where he commits suicide afterwards. It's a sad thing, but it kind of shows, like, the tactics Mcmurphy was using had a positive effect on the people. Was doing more improvement to their lives than anything Nurse Ratchet does. You can even see that with who's that character? Charles Cheswick, essentially.
Yes,
He's the nervous character. He was, like, the nervous character who was always kind of next to Mcmurphy's side, always like, okay, yeah, like, always supportive of him. And he kind of grows a bit of a spine because of Mcmurphy, essentially. Because there's a scene where he wants his cigarettes back. And he's, like, actually, like, not being as much of a patsy. Stuff like that, essentially, shows that kind of social commentary. This movie has a very strong message.
Well, I wouldn't say social commentary of today's mental institute. I don't want to get accused of saying that, not mental institutes. The problem is in England, that sort of mental care hasn't been around since the 1800s.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We were, well, maybe the 1940s. That's probably when it ended. Especially like World War II, PTSD sort of treatments.
So what did they do with mentally disabled people?
There would still be a hospital, but it wouldn't be set out as much as you are viewed there. That's very much in fact, the Cuckoo's Nest is the cliche now because it's such a brilliant and well-known film. I would probably argue that probably wasn't every single mental hospital in the 60s. Let's go to Shutter Island, for instance, and I know I'm going off track slightly, but that whole prison was designed upon One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and that's because it was so iconic. Now, the reason... Oh, fuck, I used the word.
Oh, God. Now you're using it.
The reason why I think it does hold up is because of the lighting palette. Every time you're in the hospital, you've got bland whites, there's very little colour, it's greys and whites, and...
Yeah, and that's in the movie, too.
The only thing that is colourful is
outside?
The tablets, the pills.
And the outside world.
Well, no. I'm talking in the hospital, right? So
okay, yeah.
Until Jack Nicholson takes them out on the boat trip, right?
Yeah,
they go out on the boat
that's
trip.
where they're outside.
Yep, and then you've got vibrant colours and everything like that. And then all of a sudden, when they go back to the hospital, vibrant colours start to pick up in the frame. So you have like the very last scene, the Christmas scene. You've got the girls who are in really bright colours. She's got the
alcohol,
blue dress and everything like that. And she's the other one's wearing red. And then all the inmates have like this tinsel around them, and that's very bright, and it stands out.
The Christmas stuff, the alcohol.
The background, and then the alcohol, and then like you get the reds smeared on the walls and things like that. And that was the fun, that's the fun moment. And the reason why the color paletting does work in this is because they want the hospital to feel more like a prison than an actual prison.
Yeah, it has a. Are you talking right now?
Yes.
Because okay.
Yeah, I'm done.
Oh, okay. I do agree.
But
I definitely
also, on the no, I'm kidding.
Okay, but seriously though, goddamn. This is an incredible movie. Like I feel like there's a few dated aspects of it, but I think overall, this movie still holds up.
I disagree. I don't think any of this is dated because it's one set in the 1963. Like, we don't know the main character. We don't know what prison he's came from. All we know that he was doing work, which means it's probably one of the higher end prisons in one of the southern states. I don't know how that used to work. I know that prison enslavement and that sort of thing is still a huge problem in America, and, that sort of thing happens. The conflict that is caused from that unknown article entering the prison, and because Ratchet wanted to punish him by keeping him there, and then that ended up being her undoing. She knew that he wasn't insane, and she knew that she was faking it, but she wanted to punish.
Yeah, exactly. Because let's face it, not every mental institution is perfect. There are definitely some mental places that are probably still like this to this day, which is probably why this movie is more relevant than it should be, honestly, which says a lot. But, I'm not 100% sure on the topic, but, it's not too far off to assume, like, there are still places that are full of nurse Ratchets out there. It's a depressing thought, honestly, because, it's not their fault many of these people have what they have, It's, they do need help, and sometimes they just don't get the help they deserve, Sometimes they're just taken advantage of by sadistic, awful people. So, so this movie still has a strong message that it needs to get across. Did I say message twice?
Yes.
Because... Okay.
Yes, you did.
Whatever. But you know what I'm saying, right? It's just...
Yeah, no, it does have a strong message to get across. But I feel like it's deeper than that. For instance, like the cinematography. Making you look directly in Ratchet's face. And there's a lot of these, like, close-ups. It's just her face. and she's silent. She's not saying anything. Someone else is speaking off screen, but you're just looking at her, and it makes it feel even more awkward. And then you've also got like the tension that's caused by massive amounts of noise and then silence. The contrast between Ratchet and Murphy, who very much are very actually weirdly similar, but very different.
Right.
At the end of the day, who's the worst out of them? Well, who is it? I don't think I could ever answer that, because we know right from the beginning that Murphy's not a good guy. And you know that all the way through, because he resorts to attempted murder. And, no matter how far you push, that's not a good place to go. But then, really, isn't Ratchet also responsible for murdering people?
Exactly.
Like lobotomies and,
Well, yeah, lobotomies also.
And she's
also,
doing
I think
it for fun, She's not doing it as a gut reaction. She's doing that. She's enjoying this.
She's
enjoys
deliberately
doing that.
She's deliberately making the lives of the mental prisoners hell. Like, especially with Billy Batson's scene. Like, she knew what she was doing by bringing up her mother, essentially. You saw it, like.
Yeah,
it's a complex story. I think it's not black and white, not black and white at all.
Neither of those two are good guys. The good guys are the ones that Murphy is trying to eventually help out. Like, they're the good guys. They're the ones that are going to lose at the end of the day. And I generally thought for me, that just made the story complete. It was the fact that it's not simple enough. Does that make sense?
And in a way, I know what you're saying. And in a way, the good guys, the mental patients, do bring out some good in Mcmurphy, whereas it doesn't do the same with Ratchet.
Yeah, exactly. They definitely brought out his better side. The side that maybe wasn't nurtured, and maybe the side that he needed. Yeah, he needed to express, and in some weird sort of way, they helped rehabilitate Murphy more there, like at the same time as Murphy rehabilitating his friends. And that's the best way to describe their relationship, is the fact that they are friends. And Murphy, right at the end, has a choice to run away or stay.
Right, yeah. That was a powerful moment.
That again, very powerful. Because you know what he's going to do by that choice. You know that he's not going to run away and leave. As tempting as an offer that is for him, like you know that he's going to stay with his friends.
And even the chief in the last scene brings up, like, he would have never left without the chief, essentially.
Yeah.
Which makes the scene even sadder, because he's been lobotomized, or you find out he's lobotomized, and The
thing is, the great point in this ending is the fact that you can kill a man, but you can't kill an idea. And that's something to hold on to. It is, though. That's something to hold on. You can kill someone, you can kill a man, but that idea will remain, and that's how it ends.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. It's a well-directed. There's a film. There's a great cast. We didn't even mention it. Like, Danny DeVito, Christopher Lloyd, they were in the movie. They have like minor part. Yeah, Danny DeVito. He was Martini.
You just said Danny DeVito.
Yeah, that's his name. Danny DeVito.
He's what? He's not in it.
What?
No.
Yes, he is. He was Martini.
Of course he is. Yeah, he's Martini. Yeah, okay. Oh, Jesus Christ, I didn't even realize that was Danny DeVito. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, great cast, great story, It's a great movie. We both agree it's a great movie. Powerful message.
There's actually,
yada yada.
There's a lot of people in this cast that you don't realize, like Christopher Lloyd and Danny DeVito, and
you should recognize them.
Well, yeah. Then you've got the ghost from Ghost.
Patrick Swayze?
No, not fucking Patrick Swayze. The other ghost, the one on the train that's a bit mental.
I have not seen Ghost, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Sidney Lazick? No, the ghost that teaches Patrick Swayze how to flick cans at people.
I told you I haven't watched Ghost. I don't know what you're talking about.
Deary me.
Scatman Crothers is in the movie. He's a great actor. Yeah, like, he's been in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and also Nurse Ratchet, who is Louise Fletcher, who was also in Deep Space Nine, and she was really good in that. She was a very compelling, actually a hateful villain. Nobody really liked her at all. She tried to be the good guy and then ended up being the bad guy. So yeah, pretty freaking amazing cast. And then of course Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, Jack Nicholson. Yep. He's also in, well, of course, he's in the movie. But yeah, This movie won a lot of Oscars, so people knew it was a great movie back then. Not to say the Oscars are judges of great movies necessarily, but I don't know. So yeah, that's it for our 1975 theme. It really was an interesting. I think we really picked the 4 movies that we could have picked for 1975, honestly. But yeah, so with that in mind, let's go on to our next theme. Oh, what the? What?
Hey, sorry to interrupt, bro, but I need to join. I want to join you guys. Can I join?
What? I mean, I don't know. This is all of a sudden. You don't even have a theme yet.
Yeah, I have a theme.
You have a theme?
Yes. R-rated superheroes.
What do you think, Womble?
I feel like this has been pre-rehearsed, and I wasn't told about it.
Okay, well, shut up. So, what do you want your first movie to be?
Oh, that's simple. One of the first ever R-rated superheroes, or the most well-known, Deadpool.
Deadpool?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, so I guess next time we're gonna be talking about Deadpool. That should be interesting. Any last thoughts, Womble?
Oh, never ever eat pears.
What? Okay, whatever. With that in mind, this has been Roy Johnson.
Please like and subscribe.
Roy Johnson, and
Okay.
that was Joe Johnson. Adios, muchachos.